Here in Tampa, Florida for the GOP convention. We are joined by the Congressman, 5th District of Alabama, Mo Brooks. Congressman, nice to meet you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
I'm going to ask my cameraman, Mike Aiken, to focus in on your button. It says, Obama lies and jobs die. Exactly what does that mean to you?
Well, this president has made a lot of false representations about what he was going to do with the American economy, starting with the stimulus. More importantly, though, is he has tried to implement a socialist agenda where and some people don't understand what I mean by the word socialist. Well, the definition of it is government ownership and or control of the means of production. And so when you have the government of the United States taking over General Motors, taking over AIG, doing things very aggressively in that way, or for that matter, taking over the healthcare system, or controlling the private sector with tens of thousands of pages of new regulations where federal government employees who are in cubicles someplace in some building decide how people who have been in the business are going to operate their business, that's socialism. And history has shown that socialism does not work. It's a large explanation for why our economy has not rebounded since the issues that we faced in 2007 and 2008. And so Barack Obama, he has been lying to the American people about what he stands for, what he's going to do, the effects of his policies, and as a consequence, we've lost jobs, jobs have died.
Congressman, you sit on the House Armed Services Committee.
That is correct.
So when we talk about sequestration, you have two big concerns here. Military jobs, especially in your area. We talked before we got on camera that you're in the Huntsville area. You have tons of military, space-related jobs down there. So talk about sequestration in relation to just the military in general and in jobs, in relation to jobs too.
People need to understand what sequestration is about. In sum, it's going to reduce our United States Army military personnel numbers to lows not seen since before World War II. It means that we're going to have our smallest Navy since World War I. It means that we're going to have the smallest number of fighter and bomber aircraft in the history of the United States Air Force. Those are dramatic and disproportionate cuts to our national defense capabilities. Experts generally are saying that this will weaken America's defense by somewhere in the neighborhood of 20, 25, 30%. That's a huge impact on our ability to defend America and help keep peace in the world.
What would be your solution?
Well, there are a number of solutions. For example, with the Budget Control Act, which I voted against, national defense took half the cut, even though it's only 17% of the overall budget. So what I would propose and what the House has proposed is we make sure that each agency of the federal government, everything that the federal government does, takes a proportionate hit instead of national defense, which is the number one priority of the federal government, taking a disproportionate hit. Another thing we need to start looking at is how we can reduce our mission scope overseas. Europe needs to defend Europe. China, India, Japan, Europe, they need to start pulling their weight when it comes to keeping the Persian Gulf shipping lanes open for that oil that so many different parts of the world need. It shouldn't be predominantly or almost only the United States of America that is keeping the peace in the rest of the world. So reduction of mission scope is a part of it, and a proportionate spending cut to every agency is another way to do it, as opposed to disproportionate cuts to national defense.
We look at your state of Alabama, red state, no concerns about a RomneyRyan loss there, but talk about the RomneyRyan ticket and talk about what they need to do to win the rest of the not so solidly red states.
Well, in Alabama, we're very excited about the RomneyRyan ticket. We're looking at that ticket getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 60, 65, maybe even 70% of the vote. And so what we're doing in the state of Alabama is we are organizing volunteers to go to Florida, to go to Virginia, to go to North Carolina, our sister southern states, to help campaign there. And in my neck of the woods, which is the northern part of the state, where Ohio is relatively close, Missouri is relatively close, we may send volunteers up to those states to help with the sign waving, to help with the get out the vote effort, to help with the door-to-door, to do whatever we can to unseat this president. In my judgment, President Barack Obama and his allies are the greatest threat to America's future that I've seen in my lifetime. Their policies don't work. They're going to weaken our country. They're going to undermine our economy, which in turn means that we have a smaller defense capability, which in turn means that we're encouraging aggressors out there to be aggressive, to start wars, and you know what that ends up with.
In another interview, I was told that Eric Holder, General Eric Holder, is the worst Attorney General in history. Would you back that up, or do you agree with that?
I'm trying to think back to whoever was the Attorney General during the Richard Nixon administration. I would be hard-pressed to find an Attorney General who so willingly disregards the law as Eric Holder does when he is supposed to be America's chief law enforcement officer. It might be the policy on ignoring our efforts to secure the border. It might be the policy to give work permits against federal law to illegal aliens. It might be this administration's policy of ignoring Obamacare when it comes to their political allies. It might be their policy of ignoring the law of the land, the Defense of Marriage Act. I've never seen a chief law enforcement officer break the law or ignore the law more so than Eric Holder has, and that's before we start getting to Fast and Furious, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Mexicans and Americans.
Talk about Fast and Furious. How much have you been following that story, and what would it take for you to feel that there's been some justice served?
Well, when the individuals in the Justice Department are held accountable, they lose their jobs, perhaps they're subject to criminal prosecution if in fact they have broken criminal statutes, that's when we can start getting justice for all the men and women and children who have been killed through this conduct, this program initiated by the Justice Department, wherein they are giving heavy arms to drug lords, organized crime elements. It's insane.
Congressman, tell me about the tradition of the Second Amendment and how your constituents enjoy the use of firearms there in your district.
Well, let's be clear about what the Second Amendment is. The purpose of the Second Amendment is to protect the people of the United States of America, not only from criminal conduct, but also from their government. That's why the Founding Fathers had a Second Amendment and a right to bear arms. And as a result of their foresight, America has been free from dictatorship, from military coups, because our people have been in a position where we could fight back for our liberties should the government decides to violate the Constitution, violate our laws, and seize those liberties from us. So it's one of the cornerstones of a democracy and the Republic of the United States of America.
Congressman, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.